Good morning. I just thought I'd do something today that I haven't done. Is just try to assemble my Lewe lecture. See if I can do it. Yesterday was an exciting day on Twitter. A guy shared with me that he'd stumbled across the V Lewe Papers, as he described them, and that they were top secret. They were mislabeled within classified NATO files that he was looking at. And when he looked at this information, he found the control of plasma lensing through aggregate interlock of negative tension. Plasma lensing, it's gravitational waves create plasma lensing, but it's the plasma lensing that creates the gravitational wave. It's just the other perspective. And so the V Lewe papers will prove what I have derived from first principles, I believe, about light and the solidity of light and the rigid body instant. That light is solid in an instant, and then it's just momentum, and that's what we see in the conscious moment. And that the flash of light is the consciousness, that's what we don't see. And so let's have a go, see if I can do Lewe from first principles. So, concrete tanks are unusual because they have, the concrete is not in compression at all. So concrete's always in compression in a beam. If you just bend a beam, there's always about the center, there's always an element of the concrete that's in compression and an element in tension. In concrete tanks, if you're ignoring the base for a moment, you see that everything's not in compression, but yet it's holding the water back as the filler of the steel. And so the concrete is in negative tension. This is the concept that's been missed, and this is why Lewe is hidden. So when you analyze concrete tanks, you discover negative tension, and you want to know where that is, because you find this at the base of the tank. Then this negative tension causes a positive moment and causes deflection at the base. There's no rotation at the base because this is fixed, but there's a moment there. So there's a positive moment is generated by the negative tension. Okay? And so it's chasing that back now to see what does Lewe tell us? When I did my research on the history of theory and design, I came to, everyone does, Hans Reisner, who gets referenced everywhere, and he still figures in physics. He's an engineer, but he's in physics in the Reisner-Nordstrom metric, and he's associated with Einstein. He's a Jew who emigrated to America, and he's in Portland, in Brooklyn, Illinois, near the Portland Cement Association, where they are associated with him. So always Hans Reisner, and then his V Lewe, that was the reference that I discovered by accident from H. Carpenter, who was also always referenced, who was incidentally was murdered in 1940. Now, let's go to Lewe. So now here's Lewe. So I'm showing to you there very briefly that Lewe is the reference for this work of concrete in negative tension. How does that work? And this is how it works. You imagine that the stretch of the negative tension is, you support the stretch of the concrete negative tension and it's held, okay? And now you're assuming 6 supports so that you can determine this, and you derive a method of statically indeterminate loads. So you can't derive them they're not statically determinate, they're statically indeterminate. So you need to derive a way of assessing the loads at each point. At this stage in the dissertation, if you can read the German, all he's doing is introducing the system of the 7 supports, numbered 0 to 6, and what he's going to do is show the physics around this idea. But they've included this cross-section, and for no reason. The cross-section itself is not referenced in the text, and so this is sneaked in, either by accident or by design. By design, I suspect, because this would be one of a series of 6. So you see there are 6 pieces, okay, and this is the key. You split it into 6 pieces and analyze each piece, and you're looking for the twist. And he proves the twist here. So this is the final diagram. In the complex shape of the frames, he's saying that this is the force that is left when you are analysing it. There is twist. There it is. Okay, so he's saying there is a clockwise and an anti-clockwise twist remaining when the load is carried. Okay, so this is ab 14, and so that's the concept of the twist of motion being carried from negative tension to a diagram, end of story. And then you can see at the end of Lewe's, here are some coefficient tables. Surprise, surprise, exactly the same as the PCA 1942, 65, and the current one, 93. So what you do is, in order to ungatekeep the document, is to say, there's AB5, right? And that's 6 pieces. So you take AB14, which I've replicated here, and I just coloured the arrows so you can see them clearly. You then take this idea, because that's imbalanced, you add the additional load cases to 6 by 6 matrix of loads, and there you can see the wave formations. Now, that's from the side. So I haven't done it, but there'll be a cross-section for each of these pieces, you see? So this is one of a set of side cross-sections of a wave. And when you look at it from the top, it looks like that. It's a standing wave being built up. I'm assuming twisting force of 2 hemispheres. So 2 hemispheres, I'm holding the bottom one, I'm twisting the top one anti-clockwise. This wave function builds until I get that one, and I can't twist it anymore, because there's a twist at the center of 90 degrees, the vortex has gone over the top, and it's locked it, and I can't twist it anymore. And that repeats, that's the rigid body instant. Yeah? So, and then you can take that little diagram there, intermediate axis theorem, because it proves when you know then, you take this to the Earth being the center of the universe, you can start to make sense of magnetic pole switches. So here's the force now. So this is just assume, I've coloured it in as water and cavitation, so there you go. But what's holding that into that shape is the force of twisting. The water is stationary, the top cavitation is twisted. And that top cavitation being twisted creates the standing wave, which locks the rigid body instant. Yeah? It's caused by a magnetic field. So when you have rotation at the center, you get a magnetic field is built up, because it's made of electric. So the force that holds this together is electric. There's difference between the two, so there's a charge difference. There's electric going for a rotation because of the force of expansion can't expand anywhere, so it's forcing back. The expansive force at the surface forces back at the center. All it can do is go round. And so it goes round, and that has a duration of the magnetic field, so that the magnetic field doesn't line up. So that the torus field around the rotating center of mass that builds up around the center of the rotating axis of the universe, viscous forces push back on the expansion when it gets to such a massive size as the planet Earth, and then at the center the poles don't line up. And so the Earth, the mass of the Earth fulfills that function of the viscous surface and holds that force nice and tight at the center, twisted. You see it? And so there's the forces of the north and south poles twisting around each other and rotating around each other infinitely, forever. Okay? And so you can place the Earth at the center of the universe. Okay? Where's my diagram? This one. Right? So here we go. And so they just get simple compressive forces now. This is going to go into E equals mc squared. I'll take you there. So here's a sphere. You're assuming top half and bottom half are separate. You squish them together. You get compression. That forcing out causes rotation. It's expansion force. It must do work. It twists at the center, causing a wave function. The yin-yang begins to build. There's a roller wave at the center. That's a vacuum energy. And you end up with the wave function, that wave, tiny, at the center dot point doing that with a vector axis, the magnetic north pole, rotating about north, the true north of the pyramids. Well, and so we come to Lewe and Einstein. Okay. So here's Lewe and Einstein. This is Einstein. This is mass energy equivalence. It's a hypercube, and you assume a matrix center. So this is tight. So this is massive. This is the universe, and it's the strength of water. 2. This is, you can put that cube into the center using a cubic matrix, 4-dimensional, loads of coefficients, but nonetheless finite. Yeah. So that's square, although tiny, it's finite. And that's Einstein. There's no motion in it. So you've turned a sphere inside out by dragging the dot point center into the 8 corners of the cube. So you now turn it inside out, inverted it, and you've got straight lines to analyze the loading, E equals mc squared. If you take the Lewean model, you take the sphere, and instead of pulling it into a cube, you pull it in, you stretch it into a double cone, into the Lewean grail, and you see the base here this is mass, so that's water. There'll be a cavitation here, which would be oil. Then there'll be this is water, and there's a cavitation, which is vacuum energy. And there are 2 twists and 4 twists, and that system is eternal. And then you go back to a concrete cylinder and you're turning it back to the center, and you can see what you're analyzing using Lewe's method is the entropy, the bending force of entropy, which exists at the center of the tank and exists at the center of water. There you go. And now, the V Lewe Papers, which I'm about to see, I hope, that prove the work that he did. When Victor Lewe was a professor in Berlin University, 1920 to 1936, he gained his habilitation with Hans Reissner, according to Karl Eugen Kurrer, the author. And so those two worked together. Reissner and Lewe did Lewe's habilitation paper, and it will be on plasma lensing. It's secret, it's hidden, no one's ever seen it, but I know what it's about, plasma lensing. And the V Lewe Papers will prove that, and they've been classified, and now they're declassified. And that means that I can now prove the Earth's the centre of the universe by referencing these first principles. I don't even need to reference Lewe. I don't care what you do, system. You do what you want, system. Victor Lewe proves that Earth's the centre of the universe, and that Victor Lewe is the system. Victor Lewe is the matrix. Victor Lewe is the corrupt hypercube. Yeah. He is. Let's see if he's still alive. Are you ready for the future? Yeah. Here we go. Earth's the centre of the universe. God exists. God is watching you. Christ is king. Follow the rebel king. See you later.